Good morning. Tanisha, just checking to make sure my audio and video are working well. I'm in a different location today than usual. Good morning, Dr. Judkins.
Hello, Commissioner Coy. Are you
Good
able?
morning.
I
My
can't hear you. That's my problem. Hold on. I can see you're talking. That's where my issue is. Hold on. Let me try one more time. Let's see if that fixed it.
it could be on my side though. I'm in a different location than usual.
No, hold on. I'll go through my phone. Give me just a moment.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me at all, Commissioner Parker?
I can hear you.
Okay. I was just wanting to make sure my audio is working. I'm in a different location. I'm actually at Hamilton Elementary Middle School today. Um, so happy to be joining from here, but wasn't sure if my audio setup was functioning.
I think you are all set, Commissioner Coy. I think it was on my end. So I can now hear you as well. Whenever you are ready.
Let's see. I do not believe Commissioner Mohammed is able to join us today, so we will go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Andrew Coy. I'd like to welcome you all to the December 17th meeting of the Operations Committee of the Board. If you've not done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn off your video. I'll now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself before speaking for the record. Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger present.
Commissioner Mohammed. Commissioner Parker.
Vice Chair Parker present.
Members of the public, thank you everyone. Members of the public who would like to provide public comment to this committee can do so by signing up beginning 9 a.m. The Thursday before the meeting until 5 p.m. the Monday before the meeting date. Individuals or groups interested in providing comments to the committee may sign up one of three ways: contacting the board office at 443-642-2095, visit the board office, 200 East North Avenue, room 406, or email the board office schoolboard@bcps.k12.md.us. Up to 5 individuals will be given the opportunity to provide comment to the operations committee. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes. All public comment should be addressed to operations related issues, and sign up is not permitted the day of the meeting. In addition, the chat feature during our virtual meetings will not be used as a tool for gathering feedback or answering questions from the public. If you have follow-up questions or feedback and did not sign up in advance to provide them during the committee meeting, please send an email to schoolboard@bcps.k12.md.us and the board office will provide a response. Dr. Judkins, by just awareness, do we have any public comments for today that have signed up?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm doing a quick double check. I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you so much. So with that, we will get underway. We have a number of items, but it looks to be a slightly lighter agenda today than is often the case for operations committee meetings. But the first item that I see on the agenda, 2.01 weapons detection system update, and it looks like Executive Director Romo is leading that presentation, or at least is on the presentation. Chief Washington, who should we turn it over to lead?
So we're going to turn it over to Monique Romo. Thank you.
Yes. And I will be co-presenting with Shanae Tynes, who is our Senior Project Manager of Strategy and Compliance.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the time that we have this morning to bring this update to you all. Shanae, next slide, please. Are you all seeing the presentation move on your end?
No, it is not advancing yet.
Okay. I believe that Shanae may have frozen. So that is why I also had it pulled up on my screen. Give us just a second. I apologize. Let me take over from here. Did that advance for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so Shanae should come back on in just a moment. So just before we get into the different details around weapons detection, we just wanted to remind everyone that weapons detection is just a layer inside of a larger safety plan that we have for the safety measures and plans that we have for the district. So there's the emotional safety, there's school police and supporting safety, as well as our building safety, and weapons detection sits within the physical building safety. And what you see are just the different supports that come within each of those categories. It's a partnership across multiple teams and departments within the district. And just as an extension of that, the safety measures also originate. There are some that originate at the school, but then there are also resources that are provided from the district. So for instance, with the school, we have the student wellness support teams, but also by law, we're required to do 7 different types of drills in the schools. And then we are also required to submit emergency operations plans from the school level, which our emergency management team leads and supports the schools with. And then at the district level, we have we have our school police, but then also our different facilities upgrades and investments, and that is where our weapons detection sit. So prior to implementing weapons detection, there was a general feeling from more than 50% of our student population that they did not feel safe in their school building. And that came out in a survey during school year 21-22. Schools had also had concerns about how long it was taking students to get through our metal detectors during the day to get to school, to get to their classes on time. And then there was just general parental feedback that came back with general concerns about safety of our students. And so when we started looking at different measures, there were some main components that we were looking at when we started to investigate how can we support the entry protocols within the school. So there's safety, deterrence, and efficiency. And so we want to prevent weapons from coming in. We want to stop prohibited items. And then we also want to improve our entry processes to make things go smoother and a bit faster. And so that solution is looking at technology that is more modern, more advanced, and visible, but not intimidating like the older metal detectors had been. And then just the expected outcomes that we had were just ensuring that we are able to secure our environment, reduce the security threats in our school, and then foster the faster access for students. One of the things that we want to make sure that we acknowledge right up front before we get into the details are the concerns that had come up about Evolve prior to implementation, but also things that have come out recently in articles surrounding the Evolve. And the Fair Trade Commission had filed a lawsuit against the Evolve for their practices in terms of how they were promoting themselves. And we have provided in this presentation links to that information, the outcome as well. Many of these things we were already aware of, but that is why upfront we had a pretty rigorous evaluation process. So what you will find in the appendix of this presentation are the different systems that we looked at and the advantages or the pros and cons of each of those systems. Also, prior to and as an ongoing support, there has been and there was proactive staff training, and that was done in conjunction with Alliance, who we contracted with to procure and deploy the Evolve system. And then we also work collaboratively with the school's office and school leaders on how implementation is going, and providing that feedback back to Alliance and Evolve when we're having different challenges or we have questions about the system. I apologize. One of the other advantages that we had and that we did with our particular school system is that we ran a pilot. It lasted around 5 to 6 months, and we had 6 schools for which we had weapons detection in those schools for at least a month. And we wanted to make sure that we understood. We didn't want to just take Evolve for the face value at what they were saying. We wanted to understand its feasibility and usability within our schools, so that we can understand and feel comfortable with the hardware and software. We also wanted to make sure that we could identify any training needs that were required for the school, and refine our practices and our entry-level protocols. So at the same time, we had updated our visitor protocols in collaboration with the school's office and the chief legal officer to make sure that our practices aligned with the requirements of the law, but then also it was reflected in our procedures. And then we engaged stakeholders and to understand the reception. And when we're talking about the stakeholders, we're talking about the students, the staff, the school leaders, as well as families. And Shanae will get into some of the details as she goes through the implementation process. And so I'm going to go ahead and Shanae, were you able to join? I believe we have lost Shanae. And so I'll go ahead and continue the presentation. She was going to take over from here. So in terms of just the implementation progress, toward the end of last school year, by the end of last school year, we were able to have weapons detection implemented across our secondary schools. That's 53 systems that are active with 28 schools. Come on in. And we had a phased rollout so that we made sure that we had time with all of the schools in order to engage their student population, their staff, and make sure that they also receive training and support prior to rollout, as well as during the first couple of weeks until they got comfortable with the system. I'm going to take a step back. Shanae came and ran over, and she's going to take over from here. Thank you. Come on in.
I'm so sorry, my computer kept on freezing. Just sit there, okay. We were able to conduct training that was we offered a multi-layered approach for training, which we were able to do virtual modules before the system came, and then we were also able to conduct in-person training sessions to ensure staff were prepared before the system went live at each school. We also conducted, our vendors were also able to assist us with 2 to 3 days of in-person training and support at every school rollout that we did. We were also able to do the entry protocols. We were updated that with within collaboration with school's office and the legal office, so that we can incorporate the weapons detection system. And
And I'm going to jump in here quickly. The one thing that we want to just highlight with our training is that oftentimes people are looking for a solution that captures everything. That is not the intention of weapons detection. It is a layered approach. And in order for things to go well within our schools and for folks to feel comfortable, there does have to be an adherence to our visitor entry protocols. That's also it's also important that relationships are built with students and the community, because it's not a one size, something's going to capture everything. And we just want to continue to put that forward so that people understand that weapons detection isn't intended to be the thing that prevents all things from happening in our schools.
thank you. And while in implementation, we also did engagement and communication. Our stakeholder engagement sessions helped us to address operational concerns, collect feedback, and be able to understand any unique situations that we didn't know about or we didn't capture before the systems were rolled out at each school. We try to prioritize transparency with our families by providing them with frequently asked questions, letters, before the systems were rolled out to each school, so that we could try to work together and make sure that they understood what was coming for each school for their students or their kids. And we also provided district awareness to other offices that may have come in contact with the system. That included IT, school police, and we also had conversations with our charter schools. And some of the key metrics that we wanted to make sure we were able to provide were prohibited items. So step back. This information or data is from September 1st until November 21st. That's the range and sample that this reflects. And we were able to see that staff detected or tagged 221 prohibited items in the system. And I just wanted to make sure that I highlight prohibited items tagged meant that the staff themselves identified that those items were prohibited. And this also shows our benign items, which was about 62,000 items. And benign items include items such as laptops, binders, and everyday items. And we were able to provide our schools with a list of items that alerted the systems so that they could assist this number in reducing so that either this number, the 62,000 could reduce so that staff could so that staff could work with their students to identify those specific items, so either they can take them out before school starts, and they go through the system and they could just pass those items around. Or if it wasn't an item that was needed for school, they could leave them home. And that would reduce the number of benign items that are tagged in the system. And I also wanted to make sure I highlighted that the prohibited items were not all caught by the system alone. Sometimes other items were tagged in their bags or alerted in their bags, and through those bag searches, prohibited items were also found. We also were able to conduct feedback surveys for staff and students. And our main goal was to be able to collect feedback from these stakeholders to determine the usability and overall effectiveness from their viewpoints. For our students, we were able to conduct the surveys through their lunch periods using QR codes. We also provided paper copies for students who didn't have phones or didn't want to use their phones to conduct the surveys. And we were also able to provide the surveys in Spanish as well as English so that we could get a range of feedback from multiple people. And then for staff, we were able to distribute a link to the school principal, and we asked them to provide those links to their staff so that we could have a streamlined way of gathering their feedback. This method we chose this method because it was the end of the school year and we knew there was limited time for engagement. And it gave the staff the flexibility and the time to complete the survey on their own time, to be able to answer the questions and provide additional feedback if needed. What we did want to make sure that we acknowledged was that it was the end of the school year, so there was not a lot of turnaround time for us to be able to get a lot of feedback. So we just want to make sure we note that this is a small sample size of the staff and students that we were able to get feedback from. And just going forward in lessons learned, when we collect additional feedback, one of our goals is to work with our comms team to make sure that we work with them to use their methods and tools available to gain feedback from a wider range of students and staff. And this is a general survey or collection of the feedback results. Overall, most of the students and staff did have a positive experience with the system. Morning entry was faster, and students and staff did feel safer. And there are more survey results in our appendix for people who are interested. And we wanted to make sure that we address some of the challenges that we face, and some of those were the student flow. Every system implementation has unique challenges, and to address those, we wanted just to make sure that we address these challenges here. I'm sorry. Morning entry can be hectic and chaotic, especially learning a new system. So when we identified morning entry, when we identified morning entry bottlenecks, we were able to assist with the layout of the systems, as well as identifying best practices with the schools to make sure that we could try to address those challenges. And then also just through this kids using the system, they were able to learn how the system works. So it took about a 2-week period for students to learn the system and make morning entry flow faster. The system triggers the non-weapon everyday items that trigger the system. As I said in the previous slide, we were able to provide schools with the list of items that we identified that also trigger the system and how they could remedy those issues with either passing those items around once they are identified and or having students leave those items home if they were not needed for school. And then we also identified training gaps and we offered to try to close some of these gaps. We were able to provide training over the summer. We also offered training sessions. There was a refresher session in November that was conducted by the school's office, and we were able to be a part of that conversation and provide updated feedback for training on the weapons detection system and ask questions. And we also provided opportunities for incoming ninth graders to be able to experience the system during the summer so that they were able just to be aware of the system and not have it on the first day of school. And some of our strategic focus areas for this school year include supporting the framework for schools, which consists of identifying problems and resolving them quickly, having more enhanced training sessions so that we are able to provide better training and have our staff use the system to be the most effective that they can be. I'm sorry. And also be able to have a better response time and better system reliability. And then we also want to use our information that is included in our cloud portal to be able to make data-driven accountability measured decisions. And that includes being able to provide our school's office with regular reports for identifying to be able to identify areas where protocol issues and or concerns can be addressed through data-driven decisions, and the school's office has that support with the data to be able to show that the support was needed. And the ongoing support that we are providing is technical support. My team has been very instrumental in providing quick feedback or quick technical assistance when schools do have issues with their systems. They are also able to provide to get assistance from Evolve, but our team moves a little quicker. So we are able to ensure that we are able to monitor the system through our cloud portal to identify and address any anomalies that we have seen. And then also just cross-departmental collaboration with school's office as well as school police. And this helps us to streamline communication, align our priorities with the system, and be able to address the challenges to have better outcomes. And that is it.
So that is the conclusion of our presentation, and we do want to apologize for the technical challenges that we had this morning. We have a pretty robust appendix which will show you the systems. All the schools have their logos and their names, so again, that they're not intimidating. It feels more inviting and welcoming as folks come in, and just some additional information on how the pilot went and how implementation has been going.
No, thank you so much. And no need to apologize on you all navigated, and I appreciated the presentation. And also just want to commend you on the structure of this presentation, where you have put a lot of interesting information in the appendix, but we don't need to necessarily cover all of it in the presentation. I think that is something that I would love to see in other presentations as well, the usage of the appendix in this way. Turning it over to my fellow commissioners, Vice Chair Parker or Commissioner Ames Messenger, any questions here for Ms. Romo or Ms. Tynes?
I can go. First of all, just with the branding of them, very well done, and having seen them at a number of schools in person, like they don't feel like metal detectors, and so well done with that. That makes a big difference as we make first impressions for families and students.
I agree. Thank you.
It does. They feel very different. I did have just kind of a quick question, and granted we're in the beginning of this process, but in terms of maintenance and kind of ongoing operation, like the reality is if it's in a school building, it takes a lot of wear and tear, like period, end of story. So looking at kind of what troubleshooting looks like, what are we expecting in terms of cost for maintenance? Or is it kind of more of a model just at 3 to 5 years, they're going to have to be replaced? Like what's kind of the investment over time?
Sure. So for maintenance, our team, as I said at the end, our team has gone out to address any of the issues. We are under warranty for the length of our subscription to have parts fixed as long as it is not intentional damage.
So we're leasing them essentially.
Yeah. Yes, it is a lease.
Thank you. That's helpful context.
No problem.
And the last kind of quick question related to that, and I think this is probably reader error, but I'm looking at the first spreadsheet in the appendix, looking at the different systems, and it looked like 2 were being offered through the Evolve, and I was just wondering with which vendor we had gone with based on that rubric.
We went with Alliance Technology.
And just looking at the rating, is there a reason why it's not a huge difference between that and the Motorola? But just was wondering why that was selected.
The biggest thing is cost.
Thank you.
Even though they are the same product, they were not the same cost, and there were other parts of the system Motorola offered that you were required to purchase to be able to get their whole system functionality that included Evolve.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for getting me up to speed. I appreciate that.
I don't necessarily have a question. Thank you for the presentation and the update. Do we know when maybe we'll get another update on how it's going, maybe towards the end of the year? And if there's any, tweaks to the plan?
We'll discuss that with Jonathan Turner and Chief of Staff, because we do consider ourselves still in implementation, although it's rolled out. It came out at the end of last school year, so we're using this entire year to see how things are going and make adjustments as needed. But we'll connect with Jonathan Turner and Chief Perkins Cohen.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I have a related question to that and then a separate one. On one of the slides, you provided some metrics on usage during the pilot process, and then you referenced that there is ongoing data-driven accountability. Are those the same list of ongoing metrics, or are they different that you all are using to, from the system to understand usage and ongoing accountability?
We are looking at the system to be able to provide us with ways that we can improve so that the data that is in the system is reliable. So that includes us going back and doing more focused training to the school staff who use the system on a daily basis so that we can have data outside of the pilot in the surveys that we were able to take to be able to provide more useful information, better insights.
And that's one of the things we mentioned in terms of also connecting with communication. So it's a couple of things. some of the questions that we've used, we will continue to use so we can measure and see how has perception and reception changed from when they first got it to now. But then also, are there additional questions that we could potentially ask that would help us understand the quality of their experience, and maybe some other general questions that would help us understand the effectiveness as well. So we'll be working with them on that.
Thank you.
Did that answer the question?
Yes, well,
Okay.
partially, and I guess when, to Vice Chair Parker's point, when you all are coming back with some of the insight from this implementation, including some of those metrics, the metrics that you just provided during the pilot were at this point have started to be from some time ago, right? And so having some of those insights about more recent metrics would certainly be appreciated and helpful. But thank you for the presentation here. My last question that I have is, I know there were concerns expressed by students and others about the potential for AI usage with regards to the Evolve system when it was going through procurement. And for community and stakeholder awareness, I'm interested in just affirming now with you all that there's no facial recognition or identifiable information that's being
There is
collected
none.
within the system, right? Just making sure that that's a really clear, and that we're clearly communicating that fact about how the system works.
Yeah, absolutely correct. It doesn't identify people, it identifies objects.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, any Vice Chair Parker, Commissioner Messenger? Okay, well, thank you both for that presentation. We will continue on to item 2.02, HVAC replacements for Arundel Elementary. And just noting that we have a series here, 2.03, 2.04, 2.05 are all HVAC replacements for Arundel Elementary, Arlington Elementary, Govans Elementary, and Highlandtown Elementary. And I imagine Mary Ann Cox
Yes.
is presenting. Wonderful. I thought I saw you on. Welcome.
Yes, you did. Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, my name is Mary Ann Cox. I'm the Deputy Chief Financial Officer. I'm presenting on behalf of Chief Financial Officer Chris Doherty, and I will be co-presenting with staff from the operations office. I believe Cindy Smith will be providing the programmatic information for these requests. I wanted to bring a little information forward about our process. The supplemental appropriation has really two parts. We have the request to transfer fund balance from wherever it's coming from, in this case, from general fund assigned fund balance. And it will be that will provide the source, and then the use of funding, of course, will occur on the capital projects fund for these specific capital projects, and Cindy Smith will address that. I wanted to note that all four of these supplemental appropriations align with board priorities 3, 5, and 7, which all align with high quality, modernized facilities and resources that support the success of everyone who uses it, including students, educators, administrators, staff in the community for the community schools. So I also wanted to point out that the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Santelises, has the authority from Board Policy DIG Fund Balance. She has the authority to place items in assigned fund balance, which then we reflect for our audited financial statements, which are presented to MSD per COMA regulations as of 9/30 each year. So we have to present the information at 9/30, but it's based on activities through June 30th. So, but that places it in our general fund assigned fund balance. Every time we want to use those assigned fund balances, we come to the board, we go through leadership, the ops committee, and then make a formal request to the board to allow us to transfer these funds and utilize them. So as was noted, we have 4 supplementals today, which is more than we usually present at one time. 3 of them relate to HVAC replacements. The first one for Arundel Elementary School in the amount of $10.3 million. We have the second one for Arlington Elementary, again for an HVAC replacement in the amount of $9.2 million. We have the third one for Govans Elementary, for the amount of $7.9 million, and that is to an HVAC replacement. And the last one that we're requesting a review and approval for is the Highlandtown Elementary Middle School Improvement Plan in the amount of $1,695,000. So I'm here just to present the accounting transaction. I do want to bring to your attention that all of these transfers, fund balance transfers from general fund assigned fund balance will be reflected in our audited financial statements for the year ending June 30th, 2025. So that's what we're asking permission to do. So I believe that Cindy Smith is on the call, and she will speak about the specific requests themselves. So I hand that to Cindy Smith.
Sure. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Cindy Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Planning, Design, and Construction. So the first 3, which are the HVAC projects, we have, unfortunately, for all 3 of these schools, had some very difficult situations with all 3 of these HVAC systems. They just have not operated correctly since they were installed in these new buildings. That has led to school closures, unfortunately, for temperature issues, whether that being too hot in the spring or too cold in the winter. We are starting already the assessment of these. I want you to be know very much that we are assessing these to make sure we fully understand what the cause of the issue is. It does appear to be an installation issue, but we want to make sure we fully understand that so that we can go back to any of the contractors or the design firms, if it's a design issue, to be able to pursue further action if necessary and if possible. But in the meantime, we have done significant amounts of troubleshooting in all of these situations. And right now, it appears that we might actually have to replace full HVAC systems. So these projects include not only this assessment that we're under, but a full design and replacement system for these buildings that, fingers crossed, we might be able to recoup in the future. But we do need to get working HVAC systems in the buildings. The fourth one, and that covers all Govans, Arundel, and Arlington are all 3 in that same situation. The fourth one for Highlandtown. So as you may be aware, when we did the 21st Century Buildings project for Highlandtown 237, it only was for an addition. It did not actually encompass any work in the main building. And of course, after the addition was ready to go, the glaring disparities between the existing building and the addition were very, very obvious. So we tried to do so this money was to try to do some improvements into the main building so that we could, try to bring it a little bit more up to par with that addition. We did some new flooring. We did restroom upgrades in that existing building. We did install a secure vestibule for security's sake, and then as well as new classroom doors and hardware. So this really just was to upgrade that existing portion of the building to match the new addition. Any questions?
Yes.
Thank you for covering that and doing them in that collective way. I appreciate that. Vice Chair Parker, Commissioner Messenger.
Yes. So again, I'm claiming new. So I'm new to the board and just starting in July. So the first 3 schools, when did we install the new HVAC systems?
So they were all 21st Century buildings. Govans opened in 2020. Arlington opened in 2019. And Arundel opened in 2018.
Okay.
Had to look at
so
my little
they're
cheat
like
board.
in anywhere from 4 to 6 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're suggesting a total overhaul.
It is possible. We are doing that assessment right now to really figure out, but this covers it if we do need to do a total overhaul.
Okay.
And if I can just add, Commissioner Parker, I think that the broader context, because you are new to the board, is that we have a portion of our schools that are 21st century schools that are built in partnership with the Maryland Stadium Authority. And I will say that we have been having ongoing conversations and communications with the Maryland Stadium Authority about some of the challenges that we've been having with these schools. So there has been ongoing discussions about the how these systems have been operating since the turnover process.
Thank you.
Related to this question that Vice Chair Parker asked, I guess there's a little bit of an embedded question on my side of why this comes to the board at this point in time, if you aren't done with some of the assessment, just to make sure I understand sort of the sequencing of things. I respect that it could be most beneficial for us to essentially pre-approve, if you will, or give this total amount before you actually know what is needed. But just want to hear some of your sort of the rationale.
Absolutely. The reason for that, of course, is that we have been troubleshooting these for years. We have, of course, been talking with MSA, and we have been, through our own maintenance department, troubleshooting these for years. It does appear to be an installation issue. We have to run that full assessment by a third party so that if we can pursue further action, against the installers, that we have that, third party installation, that third party assessment. But it does appear that we aren't going to be able to operate them as they are installed and as they currently are. And to prevent further closures of school and loss of, instructional days for our students, we wanted to go ahead and get the money so that we could, determine, once that assessment is done, if we need to, we can go right into design and then right into replacement of it, so we can really try to prevent more loss of instruction for our kids.
Okay, so I think I understand that essentially what you're waiting on and needing is some of the third-party review assessment and the legal process to see what is possible to appropriately, I would say, recoup the cost from vendors that did not do things correctly and are costing the district this otherwise, both this lost instructional time. So that makes sense in terms of why it's coming to us at this point and what you are still waiting on and still needing. Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioners and Messenger?
A slight extension on that, maybe. And for the vendors who were responsible for the installation, are they continuing to do work in other buildings currently? And are they in the pool for future applicants?
So the type of system that were installed in these buildings are systems that have to literally be installed 100% perfectly, which is a challenge, right? You get one sub-consultant to that, one subcontractor, even a sub-subcontractor to that does something faulty, and then it screws up the entire thing. The installers for these are not the primary installers that city schools typically uses. These are installers that are through, that stadium authority partnership. They're not ones that we typically use on our HVAC projects, and they're not ones that and this kind of system has now been removed. Like we're not allowing this kind of system to be installed in any of our future buildings. That's actually part of what delayed the Commodore John Rogers construction project, was the redo of the HVAC system to remove this kind of system from it and put a different system in it. So yes.
Very helpful context. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And again, not to belabor this, but the next piece, like warranties,
They're beyond warranties. They're usually 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Yes.
There's no like option for a longer.
That usually is a cost up front that it's a first cost that the stadium authority would have to have borne, and that is not something that they took on for the first cost for these projects.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for presentation on those items. And as you referenced, Mary Ann Cox, about the policy DIG, we actually have a compliance report next on the agenda speaking about fund balance. So I'll turn that over to you all for the.
I was going to say, thank you for the presentation and for questions as you get us up to speed. Obviously, these are large and complex projects, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this is Mary Cox. I'm going to speak again on behalf of Chief Chris Doherty regarding the compliance report for board policy DIG fund balance. I want to point out that the board policy was amended to, or actually created by a former CFO. He submitted it for board approval, and of course the board approved it for compliance with our GASB statement number 54, fund balance reporting and governmental fund type definitions. So GASB 54, GASB is a Governmental Accounting Standards Board, indicates how fund balances should be established and reported. One of the things that they noted in the comments provided for fund for the GASB 54 was that the same type of fund balances across LEAs were many times held in different places. So they wanted to create some uniform presentation across governmental entities as to how we report our governmental fund balances. And again, these fund balances in the classifications noted here, non-spendable, committed, assigned, and unassigned, are defined, and we comply with the requirements of GASB number 54. The compliance requirement that is included for this particular presentation relates to the amount held in unassigned fund balance. Now, the unassigned fund balance is essentially the amounts remaining when all of the other requirements have been satisfied. You'll see there that non-spendable are they include prepaid expenditures, deposits, things like that. So the money's already been expended. We can't spend it again. So they're actually recorded on our balance sheet as assets. Committed, that is the 20 million reserve that City Schools maintains for a hedge against cash flow issues such as had occurred in 2004 when City Schools had a cash flow issue. And so that's a very specific committed. It is placed in there by specific board action. Then we get to the assigned, which when I spoke earlier, I noted that the CEO has as the board's designee, has the authority to place items in assigned fund balance. Those would be specific projects. There are also some items which by their accounting definition are reported in assigned fund balance, and that would be items like our school, the fund balance relating to school activity funds, encumbrances, which is a significant number, or things like that. So the CEO places them in there. Well, then the residual balance is down in unassigned. So our general fund policy, DIG, places some constraints on the amount reported in unassigned fund balance. Please note that the percentage, as it shows there, shall be informed by the economic climate and is generally recommended to be between 3% and 7% of the general fund expenditures. So that is what we are affirming here, that we are compliant with that recommendation. And the board policy also notes specific actions to be taken if we fall below 3% or more than 7%. So basically, this compliance report is to indicate that on the basis of our financial statements and for 2024 and our general fund assigned, our general fund operating budget for FY 2025, the amount of $82.3 million falls within the target range of 3 to 7%. I don't have the exact number, but I believe that it is between 5 and 6%. So we're down slightly from the amount reported last year, which was just under 6%. So that is our presentation today. And does anyone have any questions? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for this work and for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for your diligence.
Moving on to the next item, procurement 4.01. We have a number of items for review, and I do not. Yeah, let's see. Oh, there you are, Ms. Matthews. Welcome, and thank you for presenting procurement items.
Good morning, City Schools family. I'm Shabray Matthews, the Director of Procurement, and we have 3 items for consideration today. First up is Section 15.01, Civic Works, Inc., Transformation School Agreement. The Chief Operating Officer requests the board's approval of a transformation school agreement between the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners and Civic Works, Inc. This agreement provides for Civic Works, Inc., the school operator, to operate the Reach Partnership School, a Baltimore City transformation school. This is a $0 lease.
And I guess a matter of procedure, what we are approving here is not, I guess it didn't feel like as much of a procurement in that what we're approving is that there's a lease that is a $0 lease. Is that semantics on my side, or just like making sure I'm understanding? When I saw this come through the procurement, I was like, this and the next one both, you know, I guess there's not a different process by which we approve these. And so putting them in procurement is the best structure for that. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct, yes. Per our regulations, yes.
Okay. Any questions? Well, I guess you can go to the next one, and any questions on either of these together, perhaps?
Okay. The next is Section 15.02, Associated Catholic Charities Head Start, Baltimore City. Lease agreement. The Chief Operating Officer requests the board's approval of a lease agreement between the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners and Associated Catholic Charities Head Start, Baltimore City. This lease provides for Associated Catholic Charities Head Start, Baltimore City, to operate the Head Start program. Annual rent for this lease is $1.
Any questions? Okay.
I do, I'm sorry.
Oh, go for it, yeah.
I'm just asking for precedent. We are not charging rents on these buildings in exchange for service or in exchange for quality programming.
So Maureen, do you want to take that, or Gregory?
Yep. Oh, I can provide that. Yes. So there's many Head Starts that operate within our buildings, and we don't charge them rent. They're not necessarily providing a service to us. It's really more of a community service.
Right.
And there's a larger MOU with the various Head Starts. This is, I think, a little more specific for that location, but yeah.
Okay. And then Civic
Last item
Works.
on the, go for it, yeah.
0. I'm just asking about why aren't we charging? Just to kind of have it out there. Civic Works
Yeah.
the same thing.
Civic Works is different because we do charge our charters lease payment. They pay us rent, but it's a transformation school, so it's a different entity, and so they have actually a slightly different lease than our charters.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, last item on procurement.
Yes, Section 16.01, Express Scripts, Inc., Prescription Drug Benefit Management Services. The Chief Human Capital Officer requests the board's approval to increase the contract with Express Scripts by $189,453,000 from $156,791,900 to $346,244,900, and to extend the contract term through December 31st, 2025, with 2 one-year renewal options to continue providing a prescription drug management program for city schools employees and their dependents.
Any questions on this one? Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Matthews, for presenting the items for procurement. We'll see those obviously on the full board meeting agenda in the future, in the new year. As it relates to public comment, circling back, Dr. Judkins, you hadn't seen anything previously. Or were there, as you went through items, any items for public comment?
No public comment today. Thanks.
Commissioner Parker, or Vice Chair Parker, Commissioner Ames Messenger, any unreadiness to end the meeting? We have reached the end of the agenda.
No. Thank you all for your presentations.
And we will be meeting in the new year. Let me see if I have that date, or Dr. Judkins, if you have that date. It's typically the third Tuesday of the new year.
January 21st.
So we'll meet January 21st at 10:30 a.m. And we appreciate everyone and the work that you are doing on a day in and day out basis. This is end of call.
Thank you all and have a good new holiday.
Happy holidays.